You trust your GPS, right? A stranger's voice tells you to turn left into darkness, and you do it, because you believe the algorithm knows better. This story is about what happens when you take a road that wasn't meant to be a shortcut. 3 months ago, I was driving from Albuquerque to Kansas City. I left at 6 in the evening to avoid traffic. Around 2 in the morning, somewhere in the Oklahoma Panhandle, my GPS rerouted me. Fast a route available. Save 47 minutes. I tapped accept. The turn was a state route I didn't recognize. There were no signs, just a 2-lane road dissolving into empty plains. I haven't driven at night since Smo. Not because I'm afraid of the dark, but because I learned that some places only exist when you're alone. And once you've been there, they remember you. The road was just too smooth. Perfect black asphalt unwinding into nothing. The radio was pure static. My phone had no signal. Not a single bar. That's when I noticed the mile markers. They were counting down. Mile 89, mile 88, mile 87. Roads don't work like that. Mile markers count up from a state line. They don't reverse. But I just told myself it was some local quirk and kept my foot on the gas. My GPS still showed the blue line, clear as day, guiding me forward. At mile 82, I passed a hand-painted sign. Leaning and old, the blistered white paint read gas minus thesmi. My tank was only at a quarter. It was a risk, but I kept going. It appeared exactly at mile 72. A single pump gas station under one sodium light that turned everything the color of an old faded photograph. I pulled up and got out. The silence was absolute. No crickets, no winds. The air was so still it felt wrong, like the whole world was holding its breath. The pump itself was ancient, with those old mechanical numbers that flipped over. No card reader, of course. Inside, an old man stood behind the counter. He wasn't elderly, just old, like he'd been middle-aged for a very, very long time. "Evening," he said with a calm smile. "Evening," I replied. "Just need to fill up. And do you have a bathroom?" He nodded toward a door at the back. "Help yourself." The bathroom was strangely clean, almost sterile. "When I came out," he said, "that'll be $22.50. I handed him my credit card. He just looked at it like I'd offered him a seashell. "Cash only," he said, his smile never wavering. Of course, I pulled out the cash I had. As he handed me my change, his fingers brushed against mine. They were cold. Not just cool freezer cold, an unnatural chill that shot right up my arm. "You're taking Route 72, he asked, glancing at my phone on the counter. "I'm just following my GPS. "That'll take you through," he said. "Through where?" His smile didn't change, but his eyes seemed distant. "Where you're going." A knot formed in my stomach. I grabbed my phone, mumbled a thanks, and got back in my car, eager to leave. About 10 minutes later, I saw him. A man, standing on the shoulder of the road, his thumb out. There is absolutely no reason for a hitchhiker to be out here at this hour. There's no traffic, no towns for miles. But I stopped. To this day, I don't know why, it just felt like I was supposed to. He got in, and the car immediately smelled like dust and old, damp clothes, but drove in total silence as the mile markers continued their strange countdown. 68, 67, 66. Then he spoke, his voice raspy. "You came from the station." It wasn't a question. "Yeah," I said, trying to sound casual. "I needed gas." He just nodded slowly, staring straight ahead at the empty road. "Did he tell you where you're going?" He said, "Through." The man turned his head slowly. That's what he told me, too. A deep, cold dread crawled up my spine. "When?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "A long time ago." He turned to look at me fully, and in the dim glow of the dashboard lights, I saw his eyes. They were wrong. They were completely absent, vacant, like the painted eyes of a mannequin. "You should have kept driving," he said, his voice flat and quiet. That was it. I slammed on the brakes, the car screeching to a halt in the middle of nowhere. "Get out." He didn't move at first, just continued staring at me with those dead eyes. Then he slowly opened the door, got out, and closed it gently. He stood on the side of the road and smiled, a broken, empty smile. "See you at the end," he said. I didn't wait for another word. I floored it, peeling out and leaving him standing there in my rearview mirror. I drove, desperate to put as much distance between us as possible. The mile markers kept counting down. 51, 50, 49. But the scenery never changed. The same cracked white line on the asphalt. The same dead grass on the shoulder. I should have hit a town by now. An intersection. Anything. My GPS was completely stuck. The blue dot representing my car was still moving, but the arrival time never changed from 6:14 a.m. In a full-blown panic, I found a spot on the shoulder and pulled a sharp U-turn. I was going back. I didn't care if it took longer. I was getting off this road. I drove back the way I came. But the mile markers were still counting down. 48, 47, 46. It made no sense. I was going in the opposite direction, but the numbers were still decreasing. And that's when I saw it up ahead. The single yellow sodium light, mile 72. The station. I hadn't turned around at all. I had somehow driven in a perfect loop. This time, I didn't stop. I blew past that station at 95 miles an hour. In my rearview mirror, I saw the old man standing outside under the yellow light, just watching me go by. I kept driving, my heart hammering against my ribs, until at mile 65, the road just ended. The asphalt stopped abruptly at the edge of a void so black my headlights couldn't pierce it. It was like driving to the edge of the world. I slammed on the brakes, the car stopping just inches from nothingness. And then my GPS spoke for the first time in hours. "You have arrived at your destination." I don't know how long I sat there, staring into that abyss. An hour, 2. Eventually, I put the car in reverse, my hands shaking. This time, the road let me leave. I found a turnoff that led to an interstate and watched the sun rise over normal, familiar hills. When I finally got home, exhausted and terrified, I checked my GPS history. The detour, the station, Route 72. None of it was there. The map showed I never left the interstate. It was a straight, uninterrupted line from Albuquerque to Kansas City. But my gas tank was completely full. And on my back seat, where the hitchhiker had sat, I found an old-fashioned glass Coca-Cola bottle, unopened, with cold condensation on the outside, like it had just been taken out of a cooler. I've heard other stories since then, online, in hushed conversations. Different states, different roads, different stations, but always the same details. The countdown mile markers, the cold man at the station, Bis, the road that loops back on itself. So if your GPS ever reroutes you in the middle of the night, and the route feels wrong, a little too quiet, a little too empty, pay attention, because the road doesn't forget who travels on it, and next time it might not let you leave. Thanks for listening. If you liked this story, hit that subscribe button for more strange tales from the road. Stay safe out there.